Did Mountbatten and his family really hope and try their best for the good of India, as mentioned in texts and shown in movies? Yeah, if you watch that movie, what's it called? Gandhi, the film that came out in 81, was it 1981, in which Mohandas Gandhi is portrayed by Ben Kingsley. In that movie, they have depicted Lord Mountbatten as a very benevolent, kind-hearted person who tried his best to achieve something good for India, and who tried to prevent partition, and who was a great friend of Mr. Mohandas Gandhi and Mr. Nehru, who were all great Indian patriots and freedom fighters, etc. So that is the story that we are told, whether it's in the movies, whether it is in our textbooks, whether it is our teachers, our professors, our academicians, our media, our politicians. Everybody more or less portrays this bunch of individuals as kind-hearted, generous people who wanted the best for India. Now, the fact is that Mr. Mountbatten was a British man. He was British. He was an agent of the British Empire. And his task was to smoothly partition India with the help of that other lawyer who came to India. What was his name? I forget his name. The guy who actually drew the map, who drew the boundary, the artificial boundary between India and Pakistan. So this guy Mountbatten, his job was to ensure a smooth transition of power from the British to the Indians who were appointed by the British to take over power. Independence. The independence of India was a transfer of power from one set of crooks to another set of crooks. That's all it was. It was not a democratic process. India did not win freedom. India was given freedom, so to say, on the terms that the British decided. So we could not form our own kind of governance system. We did not have our own constitution. The first Prime Minister of India was not even elected. He was selected. That was Nehru. And all of this was overseen by Mr. Mountbatten. And the purpose of this entire process was to ensure that Britain continued to have a great deal of say in the internal matters of India and Pakistan. And it was designed to ensure that Britain's geopolitical interests in the region, especially in the western regions of India and the Gulf region, where they had these interests in oil extraction and all that. So it was designed to ensure that these British geopolitical interests were safeguarded. And the best way to do it was to partition India, have a pro-Britain Pakistan, and a mildly or moderately pro-Britain India in the hands of somebody who was an Anglophile, a mentally colonized individual like Mr. Nehru, and the various other leaders of the Congress Party, who were all Anglophiles, who were all British educated, who were all English speaking, and who owed everything in their life to the benevolence and generosity of the British Empire. So that is the task that Mountbatten was given. And he also had to ensure that Nehru remained very much on the British side. And to do that, he was even willing to allow his wife to have an affair with Mr. Nehru, as is very well documented. The whole world knows it today. Of course, it is also known that Mr. Mountbatten was a homosexual, and he had an interest in underage boys, which is a crime in any decent civilized society. But that's what the British did. That's what was their culture. It is still possibly part of the culture in certain Western countries. So Mr. Mountbatten went to the extent of letting his wife carry on a long-standing affair with Mr. Jawaharlal Nehru. The entire world knew it. The whole of India knows it. And this was all designed to ensure that Mr. Nehru was forever indebted to the British, and he would continue to pursue pro-British and pro-West policies in India. And they knew that Mr. Nehru was not a very capable gentleman or individual. He was not capable of bringing India back on its feet, and that's what we see anyway, right? His regime, his tenure as the Prime Minister of India was the greatest disaster that befell India in the 20th century, and its effects are still with us today. So Mr. Mountbatten and his family were all British agents. They were imperial agents. They were agents of colonialism and imperialism. They did not care about India. They cared about transitioning, about having a smooth transition from one set of crooks to another set of crooks, with the overall objective of pursuing and furthering the British national interest and the British geopolitical ambitions and interests in the region. That is all it was.